Hi guys, hope you're all well and keeping safe. I'm making this video because I believe there's a great investment opportunity around crude oil right now. It's going to be a short window to invest, and I'm going to keep this video very brief and short. I will make a series of videos that will explain the detail behind it and how I reached these conclusions. But in this video, I'm just going to give you a very brief overview as to why I think crude oil prices have made the lows that they have in 2020, the correlation to the cosmos, and where I think we will go from here. I'll make a quick disclaimer. I'm not a financial advisor. All the information I'm sharing with you is as a personal investor. If you do wish to trade off of them and take on positions, they have to be at your own risk, and the products that you would use for crude oil are derivative products, so they're very risky. In fact, the riskiest products you can get out there. So unless you're a seasoned investor, I would not recommend getting into them just off the bat. And if you are opening positions, make sure you have a risk assessment strategy in place to make sure you know when to close out positions. Now, in this video, I'm going to look at the astrological correlations as to why we've had a dip in oil prices in 2020. And as I said, I will then go on to make a series of videos for those who are more interested into looking at the detail behind it and why I reached these conclusions. Right, so let's get into it. The first thing I want to show you is the fact that I'm using a natal chart for crude oil. This is essentially when I believe that the oil industry was born. So the first industrial well that was struck was in Pennsylvania on the 28th of August in 1859. And this is a chart for it. This is the position, the two-dimensional position of the planets at that location at that time. And this natal chart is important. As with all natal charts, when there are transits of the outer planets with the sensitive points within a natal chart, big events generally tend to occur. And the main sensitive points within a natal chart are the ascendant, the MC, and you've got the luminaries, the sun and the moon, and I would say connections between outer planets always create a certain degree of sharp movement, especially when we're looking at stock markets. And in individuals, you generally find big life events tend to occur when similar aspects form. So let's look at this natal chart and let's have a compare it to the transiting planets and what's been happening in 2020. In 2020, as this graph shows, we've seen oil prices drop by about 79%, and they were trading just over $70 per barrel. This is Brent crude oil that I'm looking at. They were trading at over $70 per barrel at the beginning of the year, and they dropped sharply to about just over $15 in April this year. And then we saw a sharp rebound from $15 to about $45, and it seemed to consolidate around the 45 mark and really wasn't going anywhere until we've seen a large drop, and it broke the support line around the $39 mark. It was last Thursday that it broke that line, and as soon as it did, I was looking at the charts, and it made sense as to why it would have broken that line, and I wanted to share this information with you as quickly as possible. So let's look at April and see what actually happened during that month. So if you look at this chart that I've put up on the screen, you can see the natal chart for when we had the first strike of crude oil is the inner circle. You can see where all those planets are. And the outer circle shows you and the position of all the planets in April 2020. I've specifically picked the 22nd of April 2020 as that was the day that the very lowest price was hit at around $15 for Brent oil. Now, if you look at it, the main planet, outer planet that is making a connection is Uranus. It's at 6 degrees Taurus, which is conjunct the natal Pluto at 8 degrees Taurus, and also conjunct what is referred to the IC or the nadir of the chart. This is the bottom of the chart, and generally, when you have heavyweight planets like Uranus making a transit of the IC, you would expect a quick and sharp drop in prices. So the outer planets give us a year in which an event is going to happen. So we can say that, well, Uranus shows us that 2020 was always going to be that year. And which month and which day are we expected to see the sharp drop? Well, the month would be shown by the sun in this instance, and you can see the sun was also transiting and was in conjunction with Uranus in April. So we knew that the sharp drop was supposed to happen in April. And with regards to the day itself, we would look at the moon. So the moon would show us the exact day when the low was going to happen. If you've seen my previous video where I used the moon as a timer, you will note that in that video I explained in the waning phase is when the lows will happen. And obviously, you can see this low was achieved at the maximum pressure being caused by that waning phase just before the new moon was formed. So this gave us the exact day, and when it was happening, I was watching oil prices. I've seen them drop sharply. So I recognized by looking at this chart that this is a great opportunity for me to invest into crude oil. And in the weeks that followed, crude oil prices went up 200%. So they went from $15 to $45 in a matter of 3 months. And I thought, well, what is happening right now? If we go back to the chart, we can see they reached $45, but there's a drop happening again. And why is that? So looking at the chart, we can see that on the 31st of October, we got a full moon, and the same planets are again forming key aspects to that natal Pluto being conjuncted transiting Uranus. You can see that the sun now has gone in direct opposition. It's at 8 degrees Scorpio. So that tells us that in the month of end of October, beginning of November, there's going to be another drop, not as significant as a conjunction, which happened in April, but a significant drop. In fact, the lowest prices we've had since that drop happened in April. And in terms of, again, as the moon was approaching it from last Wednesday, I noticed that prices are dropping sharply. So I thought, let me make a video, and if anyone is interested in investing, explain to them that I believe that the full moon will cause the maximum pressure. So the prices should reach the lowest point at that full moon. Again, in my video where I use the moon for trading, I explained that when the moon enters the waning half, so it starts to get narrower and narrower from the full moon to the new moon, those 2 weeks can generally cause prices to drop. So it is possible that over the next 2 weeks we don't see as sharp a rise in oil prices as we would expect, but I believe the low will be reached on the 31st. Now, the 31st was a Saturday, so the markets were closed. So on Friday they dropped, and when they opened up on Sunday night, the markets continued to drop, and they've done a quick rebound today. Now the prices have dropped from around about the 45 mark. They've gone down to around $37, and on Sunday they reached $36. So I would say, if you are looking to go long and enter a medium-term position, this is a great opportunity, and it's still not too late. I know oil prices did and spike up today, but there's still a very good opportunity to enter this market, and I believe we will see an increase in oil prices. How long do I believe you should hold this position? How high will it go? What sort of timings are we looking at? I believe oil prices will continue rising until March 2022. I think at that point they'll make a significant crest in that graph, and that's when we have natal Neptune going conjunct the transiting Neptune. At the same time, Jupiter will join it. Now, these planets are the benefics, and usually great events happen. And when we're looking at stock markets, we see market highs and crests being formed. And I've picked a specific date in the future. That's the 2nd of March 2022 for us closing out positions. If you are buying, it's always advisable to buy in trenches. I usually buy in 3 trenches when I enter positions, and I manage the stop losses for those trenches as the markets start to increase, and I close them out at different points, and I use technical analysis for that. I would expect crude oil prices to go well over $50, if not reaching $60 and $70 by this period. So it's just my opinion, and I thought it would be interesting to share it with you, as it creates an opportunity for anyone following my channel. Hope you find it useful as well, and if you'd like to understand a little bit more information as to how I use astrology for opening trading positions, and a look at the historic charts of crude oil prices, and follow my other videos that I'll be making on crude oil, and I'll make them in a number of series, so they're shorter videos, and you can watch them in your own time. Take care for now.